Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Venus and this is Venus Escapes to Read, and today we are doing my January wrap-up. Let's go. In the month of January, I read 2 3-star books, 1 3.5-star book, 1 4-star book, and 1 5-star book. My first 3-star book of the month was House of the Raven by Morgan Busse. I talked about this book on my January book haul. This was in the fantasy section, adult fantasy section of my library, but it read like a young adult fantasy book. So this fantasy book is about 7 houses that live in this kingdom. The main perspective from this book, her name is Celine, and the House of Ravenwood was actually destroyed hundreds of years ago by the Dominion Empire. So it's thought that they no longer have their gift. When they do have their gift, and their gift is of dream walking. So Celine comes into her gift in the beginning of the book, and her mother finds out that her mother also has the gift of dream walking, and come to find out Celine's gift is much stronger than hers. And Celine immediately begins training on how to enter dreams. I mostly picked up this book because of the cover, because of the twin blades, and I thought there was going to be a lot of action. That was a little misleading. There was barely any action in this book. Celine is taught how to enter dreams, and she also finds out that her mother is using dream walking to get into the dreams of the head of the other houses to find out information, and also is assassinating some of the members of the house because she feels like they did not help the House of Ravenwood when the Dominion Empire came to destroy them. So Celine is being taught to enter people's dreams and find out their secrets, what makes them afraid, and she is being taught to use that against. The second point of view in this story is Grand Lord Damien. He is House of Maris, and their gifts are of water. So he is super soft. He is all about peace. He wants to bring the houses together so that they can try to unite on one front against the Dominion Empire. And he comes up with a plan to join all of the houses at one time so they can discuss what they'll do going forward and sign a peace treaty. So Celine's mother invites everyone to the House of Ravenwood to go over the peace treaty, and Celine learns that her mother is actually plotting to assassinate some of the house lords and ladies of the other houses. And you can guess who Celine is being assigned to assassinate. So she is having these internal struggles, trying to decide whether she should follow what her mother wants her to do or what her heart wants her to do. Well, I thought this plot was very simplistic. The characters were very simplistic. There was not a lot of depth in the story. It's definitely a beginner's fantasy book. I probably won't continue with the series, but I highly recommend it to anyone that is just starting out reading fantasy stories because it's a pretty simple read. Next book is The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This has been all over Book Talk, all over BookTube, and I walked into Barnes & Noble, and of course it was on one of those tables that has all the Book Talk books that everyone's talking about, and I grabbed it. And it's a YA mystery book about a young girl named Avery. She's a senior in high school, and she is poor. She lives with her sister. Her parents are not involved in her life. Her mom has passed away, and her dad just has nothing to do with her. So she finds out that she has inherited billions of dollars from this billionaire called Tobias Hawthorne. And his family is livid. They want to know why. Avery has never met this man that she knows of, so she's whisked away to his ginormous mansion, and she learns all of the requirements that are involved in order for her to actually inherit this money. So she has to live in this man's mansion with the rest of his family for a year, and of course his family is upset, does not know who this girl is, does not understand why she's getting all of the money. He has 4 grandsons that she is getting to know in this book. They're also trying to figure out who she is. Is she a con artist? You know, why did their grandfather leave her all this money? There's a bunch of it's He begins to find all of these clues and they're trying to solve them. And overall, I enjoyed it. I gave it a 3.5 stars. There's like a love triangle in it that's starting to form that I didn't really like too much. I didn't fall in love with any of the characters in particular. But I'm interested. The thing about this author is she makes you want to know, why did this man leave her all of his money? Why? So that's what's kind of keeping me going through reading this. But like I said, overall, 3.5 stars. I do recommend it, especially if you like those stories that have a lot of clues and you're trying to figure out, you know, exactly what's going on and what happened when you're trying to figure out the ending too. So if you like those kind of books, I do recommend this book. The third book that I read in the month of January was A Not So Meet Cute by Meghan Quinn. This is a romance book, and it revolves around one of the main characters, Huxley. He is kind of a billionaire type. I believe he works in real estate, and he's trying to close this really huge deal. The man that he needs to really build a relationship with in order to close this deal is not really warming up to Huxley. So he finds out that this man has a pregnant fiance. So Huxley decides to say, hey, I also have a pregnant fiance. So of course, then he has to try to find someone to fill this spot. Fake dating trope enters. And then we have our other main character. Her name is Lottie, and she is working for one of her friends from high school, toxic relationship, gets fired from this job after she's put in so much work and basically built this company for her friend. She gets fired. Her friend's a jerk. And so she now has to try to find a way to make money to move out, because her parents thought that she would be moving out soon, and she also has student loans to pay. So she lives on the outskirts, just on the outskirts of this super wealthy neighborhood where Huxley lives. So she decides she's just going to walk the neighborhood and hopefully bump into a rich man. So of course that's what happens. Her and Huxley bump into each other while he's out walking because he's angry about what he's got to deal with. And she's upset and trying to find a way to fix what she's got to deal with. So they bump into each other. And then they have this really cute little like mini meetup / date at Chipotle to discuss their issues and what's going on in their lives. And it goes from there. So of course they make an arrangement. So this book has the fake dating elements, tropes, the fake dating tropes, and there's a portion of it where it's like enemies to lovers because they kind of have like this friction going on between them. Overall, really did enjoy this book. This book has a couple of the funniest scenes that I have read in a long time. I was laughing out loud. You know, you can see them starting to fall for each other. And it's just super cute. So I did give this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It was super funny. The only reason I didn't give it 5 stars is because, of course, it has that basic miscommunication conflict in most romance novels. Miscommunication conflict that kind of drives me crazy. It's very predictable. So that's why I dropped it down to 4 stars. But overall, I really did enjoy this book, and I highly recommend it if you love rom-coms and you want to laugh out loud. And there is some steam involved as well. The 4th book that I read in the month of January was Act Your Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is another romance book, and this is part of a series. I think it's the last book in a trilogy. Each book centers around a specific daughter in the Brown family, and this one is about Eve. Eve is in her, I want to say, late 20s. Her family is pretty well off. And she has just kind of been stumbling through life, starting projects and never kind of committing to them, hasn't really developed a solid career path. So her family has decided to cut off her trust fund for 1 year. She has to find a job and stay consistent in supporting herself. So she, of course, is in a mood and decides to kind of drive off. And she stumbles upon this bed and breakfast where the love interest in this book, Jacob, is interviewing for the chef position in his bed and breakfast. Super grumpy. He's very particular. He is on the autism spectrum. I love the representation in all of Talia Hibbert's books. Through a series of events, Eve ends up having to interview for this position, and how this comes to be is absolutely hilarious. I don't want to spoil anything, but this is another book where I was laughing out loud. There was actual tears in my eyes. The British humor in this book is fun. I loved it so much. So, of course, I loved the bed and breakfast setting of this book. I think out of the three Brown Sisters books, this is probably my favorite, just because of the setting. The only thing I wish is we got to see more of the characters in the bed and breakfast. I think that would have been pretty funny. But anyway, the way that Jacob and Eve's relationship develops, and it's kind of a quick love story. I think it takes place over the span of maybe 2 weeks. But the way that their relationship develops, it's super cute. I gave it 4 stars. I just love the way Talia Hibbert writes her characters. They're so funny. There's always there's interracial relationships in it, plus size representation. It's hilarious. So I highly recommend this book if you love romances, and you probably already read it because it was what everyone talked about last year. So fantastic book. I gave it 4 stars. The 5th book that I read in the month of January was Jade War by Fonda Lee. Oh, I love this series so much. So this is the 2nd book in the Greenbone Saga series. It is an Asian-inspired mafia, mobster, kingpin type setting. It's fantastic. There are 2 warring families in this. They are fighting over territory and also this mysterious gem called Jade that gives the wearer of this jewel supernatural abilities. The politics expand to these other countries, and you see how the other countries are trying to figure out ways to profit from Jade as well. And the character development in this book is phenomenal. I love these characters so much. So the main family in this, the Call family, I just love their dynamics. I love all of the family loyalty that's represented in this book. There is character development that takes place that's phenomenal. The way that it ended, there's a character in this book, and there's a character who starts one of the opening scenes from the first book, who is the same character that ends in the last scene of the 2nd book. And this character has like 9 lives. I don't even know how he's still alive. It's incredible. It's incredible. I love the way Fonda Lee weaves this story. There's like a kingpin vibe, and how like the underground vibes of it from the lower people on the totem pole who's trying to like profit from Jade, and the things that they do to try to get it. And it's amazing. If you have not started this series and you are a fantasy reader, I don't know how you haven't started it. I feel like I'm late, but I highly recommend this book. I gave it 5 stars. It is phenomenal. So that's all the books that I read in the month of January. I typically read anywhere between 5 to 8 books, sometimes more, sometimes less. So January was definitely a lighter reading month for me, but not too bad. No books that I DNF'd or hated completely, so I call that a win. So how was your January reading month? Did you have any 5-star reads? Did you have any DNFs? Let's talk about it. Have you read any of these books? What are your opinions? Thank you for hanging out with me today. I hope you found some new books that you would like to start reading. As always, please hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you next time. See ya!